Well, welcome back. And of course, we're starting the new year with a huge topic. That's the discussion about the economy, which is everything is anchored on the economy.
It's just we're talking about money.
We're talking about money. Follow the money. That's what our business desk always says. We should follow the money. And so what do we have? Nigeria's economy is poised for growth. The president pretty much said that during his speech, and he gave some fantastic numbers about that. Driven by non-oil sectors like agriculture, services, the government is pushing for reforms, including new tax regime, which kicked off January 1. A lot of people have said, take time to learn about this new law. Read it up so that you will not be caught unaware. There's no excuse that I did not know about.
Let them go and look at all the videos of Mr.
So we also have growth prospect. Nigeria's economy is expected to grow by 4.49% in 2026, driven by structural reforms and, of course, improved investor confidence. We're expecting that. Inflation is projected to moderate at 12.94% in 2026, driven by declining food and fuel prices. Some people did report that the price of bag of rice and other food items actually did come down. And it was just regular people that were saying it. So I think, there's hope in the horizon. We talked about the new tax regime as well, aimed at broadening Nigeria's tax base and improving revenue collection and a host of things. I think I should go through all of this. So we have in the house with us, do we have Kerry Booker yet? Has he joined us yet?
We'll find out. But for now, we have Dr. Benga
Adeoye,
who is a
chartered accountant.
And from time to time, he comes in to speak to us about these issues. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Nice.
Happy New Year.
To you. I like this. This is really beautiful.
Yeah. Well, of course, I'm hoping that we already have Mr. Booker Kerry with us, who is chairman of Sunu Assurance PLC. He is joining us from Maiduguri. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Ayo. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
But let's begin with you, Mr. Booker Kerry. From your experience and from your understanding, what's your assessment of how we closed the year, and how do you see it really dovetailing into business activities or economic activities for Nigeria in 2026? Are you as optimistic, as pumped, as hopeful as the president?
Well, a reflection is always good. Last year, which is 2025, we went through what I call the reform hangover. Of course, the reform started the previous year. And the effects of those were grossly felt last year. Of course, the painful reform, effects of harmonization, fuel subsidy removal, and its unintended and intended consequences. There were some consequences that were expected, but there were quite a number that were unexpected, and those had affected a lot. We had a huge spike in inflation as a result of the fact that we have some structural imbalances in our economy. However, towards the latter half of 2025, inflation started trending downwards. I believe we ended the year at about 15 or 16% from a high of 32% or thereabouts by January. The other is the strengthening of the Naira, or rather the stability that the Naira found somewhere around 1475 to 1500 to the dollar. Expectations from last year were that people were predicting 1800 to the dollar, et cetera, That had not come to pass. And the reason basically is that the monetary side of things were well taken care of by the central bank. And the effects are clear to see more Naira inflows into the economy, many of them, albeit foreign portfolio investments rather than foreign direct investments. I think one of the things that I also pick out and one need to take note of in 2025 is the state of security and logistics drag. Security had been a major downer for us in Nigeria. And in the Niger Delta, it had subsided. But in the food producing areas of the country, which is the northern parts of the country, security had been lackluster. Actually, if anything else, it even dragged somebody like Donald J. Trump into the conversation, even though his premise was completely misinformed and misaligned. We certainly see the effects of post-harvest losses, and this is also something tied to logistics. But generally speaking, with all of those, and what we feel is that this new year, one would look at it with cautious optimism. The projections for GDP growth, as mentioned earlier, is better than that of last year on all fronts, whether you're looking at internal numbers or IMF World Bank numbers. It's anywhere from slightly less than 4% to mid-4s, and that's a good sign. For us to actually make impactful economic growth, it has to be double digits. Unfortunately, we don't see that happening. And mind you, 2026 is a penultimate year for elections. And the discipline, the fiscal discipline we've had in the past may not play out in 2026. What happens in most democracies is that a year before the elections, they would loosen the purse strings, and that would basically mean that there would be so much money.
If you can hear me, sir, I think it's only a matter of time before some of those things will play out. But let me quickly take your view, because like 3 to 5 questions have come out from your statement. But let me ask you, what are your thoughts? Initial disposition to the comments of the president's the gains, quote unquote, of last year, and how that dovetails into this year.
Okay. If you look at the capital budget in 2025, 70% is being carried over into 2026. And because it's a penultimate year to election, I call it a year of closing the gaps. And I do emphasize that the GDP growth is going to be about 6.5% to 7%, getting closer to double digit. Why is that so? In 2025, the capital project was 23 trillion. In 2026, it is 26 trillion. Now you have 70% of the capital project of 2025 that is being rolled over into 2026. That brings your capital project to 42 trillion. And penultimate year to election is a year where politicians will be ashamed to give excuses. And what that means is that there's going to be massive development in 2026. Contractors that have been owed over the years will be paid because you're already seeing the momentum. Now, if you go to subnationals, the governors who want to install somebody to succeed them, they are going to face questions from the people and say, look, you made a promise. You haven't done that. Now you're bringing somebody again. So they will now begin to go around the roads that are bad, the hospitals that are bad, the schools without roof. You see a lot of activities. Now what this does in the economy is that government will now look for money by all means to ensure that projects are carried out. And the effect goes to MSME, contractors, and every other person. Now, there are contracts that are coming out this year, coming from individuals, face cap for election, T-shirts, and there will be a lot of gathering because this is the year of primary elections, and they will mobilize people from rural area, from everywhere. So food vendors should get ready, have enough bags of rice, have enough oil, palm oil, small chops,
all the raw materials,
and all the things, because they're going to come after you to patronize you.
Yeah.
And as you're attending to PDP, you'll be attending to APC, you're attending to Labour, you're attending to ADs. As a businessman, anyone who come across you, just supply them. So if you look at 2026, we started uninterrupted democracy in 1999. From 1999 till now, that will be 27 years. This year will be the busiest because of the rollover of about 16.7 trillion of capital project.
But does it make any difference on that same budget? Does it make any difference that the president said we are not going to operate multiple budgets this year? That we're going to make all of them we're going to collapse all into just one?
That's exactly what he's going to do. So that 42 trillion that you see in the capital project, that president is going to ensure there is fund to carry them out. So both the carryover, you know, into university you have what is called carryovers. If you want to graduate, you need to pass your exams. So, and the politicians want to pass their exams because they want to graduate to the next class, which is 2027 election. So the carryover of 2025 in terms of project will be passed in terms of sitting for exam now. And so this year is going to be a wonderful year.
Okay.
We are not going to force government to do a lot.
They will do it by themselves.
They will do it.
You know, let me, Joker, sorry, just 1 second. Mr. Kyari, what would you consider the key economic drivers for this year? Here's what I'm asking. There are a good number of people who think that we have stabilized largely in the area of electricity supply. There are those who also think that the government is holding the gauntlets quite a bit stronger than before in the area of security. There are those who are also pointing to the issues of logistics that you raised. You know, rail transport is improving, air transport is stabilizing, road transport is being made better through the major arterial roads that have been created, and some of them that have been mended. And as Mr. Bekapan, Dr. Adeyu said here, some state governments have also upped the game and will do a lot more of that in the year 2026, particularly concerning road infrastructure in their areas, both intra-city and interstate roads. Do you see these as being significant in economic growth, or are these just wishes?
This is quite a difficult question. Let me narrate a personal experience the last 2 weeks ago or so. I managed to, book a flight to Maiduguri from Lagos. And unfortunately, I had to stop over in Abuja for 1 day to meet with some people. That wasn't in my plan. So my family continued, I stayed. And then when I decided to say, okay, I'm now looking for a seat, there are 3 flights to Maiduguri daily. All seats were full until they said the 27th. Therefore, I had to travel by road. And I haven't used the roads for travel in a long while. There were contracts that were given over 25 years ago, the Kano-Maiduguri road. It looks like either somebody went and made it into a construction site, or nothing had been done in the last 25 years. My problem with Nigeria's state of infrastructure is similar to the Maiduguri-Kano road. There are patches that are okay, but a greater percentage are absolute death traps. Now, you can say the same thing about electricity, even though there has been improvements in electricity. I think the privatization should have continued, including transmission, and that would have actually put us better in a better state because the generation has improved. Last mile, meaning taking it from the generating plants to the homes, is quite challenging, even though we have seen some captive industrial areas and estates getting uninterrupted power supply. These are all major capital, require major capital outlays. Now, one of the things that Mr. Joki had mentioned, and also something that one has to be mindful, is the carryover effect of saying 40 trillion. But that 40 trillion includes, when you look at the Nigerian capital budget, not all the monies go to what I call quote-unquote capital. Buying a car is considered capital. It's a depreciating asset. In fact, if we were to say, for the next 3 or 4 years, no government or ministry or department or agency or even states will buy a brand new car, can you see where those monies would go? To primary schools, to healthcare centers, to hospitals, and indeed even roads. And if that were to happen, the catalytic effect on the economy would have been much higher. And that's why I wouldn't actually expect the Nigerian GDP to grow at the rate quoted, which is 8% or near double digit. It's probably at best going to be between 4 and 4.5% if we are lucky. The reason is that there is lag effect to any major project. The Lagos-Calabar road is not going to be completed, certainly. Or the rail from Lagos to Kano would not be ready, or Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. All of those are catalysts for moving goods and services and moving passengers, etc., etc. Now, those are what I consider to be steps that we're not taking as fast as we should have. However, there will be visible improvements by virtue of having an election the following year. And therefore, there would be a bit of cosmetic perceptional changes, which we would see. But to actually look at some of the massive infrastructure gaps we have and filling it, I think it requires another look at the PPP engagement, because majority of the policies, if they are business friendly, what it means is that foreign direct investment and also domestic funds could be harnessed and come into some elements of the infrastructure, especially if the risk capital component is well taken care of by government, meaning that the catalytic part of some of those infrastructure should be done by government or governments in the case of states or the subnationals, and we then can see private capital following through, because once I see that there is confidence by governments, then private investors would also come in knowing that fully well that they can recover their investments in good enough time.
Right. If I could come to you, Dr. Ade, and thank you for that contribution, Mr. Booker. There are a lot of things, I wanted to ask you, but he said something about, foreign investments and all that, and being an election year as well, we do know that he talked about cautious optimism in anticipating, maybe bigger growth in 2026. And we do know that when it comes to an election year, even foreign investors are also very skeptical because they don't know what's going to happen, how turbulent the economy may be, if they're going to reap the rewards of, their investment. So how cautious, what do you think about going into an election year, and, what foreign investments may look like this year?
Okay, I will say again that because it's a penultimate year to election, and Mr. Kyari talked about cosmetic activities. Yes, on the part of the government, it might look cosmetic, but the beneficiary of those activities are the people. Now, if you look at what has happened in security in the last 2 months, then you can see that foreign investment will come to Nigeria because nobody wants to invest in any country that is not secure. So over the years, from 8 years of Buhari regime and then the first 2 years of Tinubu's presidency, it appears that the expectation of the northern people in terms of security architecture is not in place. Now, immediately you have General Musa as Minister of Defense, and then you see the collaboration between the US and Nigeria, and you can see certain level of confidence. You see Mr. Kyari traveled by road when he couldn't get flight. I'm not sure if he will have traveled from Abuja to Kano to Maiduguri by road if it were to be some years past. So, and I also saw a lot of people going to the east, and I asked them, why are you going by road? They said the flight cost is too much. And so now you will not place your life below cost if you are not sure that you are safe. So a lot of people travel. I saw a professional colleague, an accountant, who also traveled with the family to Imo State. I saw a lot of people. So what this implied, now if you look at the IPOB activity in the southeastern part of Nigeria, at Soludo and other governors, they are already curtailing that with the collaboration with the presidency. So if insecurity is tackled, then you're going to get foreign direct investment. And before you even think of other people that will come to your country, if I, as a Nigerian, cannot travel to the north because of fear of being attacked, fear of kidnapping, then it means I will not invest in that place. So once you take care of insecurity, like on the 1st of January, the Alake and Paramount ruler of Egbaland made a statement from Psalm 126, and he said, this year will be a year like a dream. It's going to be a year where you will be able to travel day and night in the country. I mean, you talk about Anthony Joshua and all of that. He was moving on this Lagos-Ibadan expressway. You remember there were kidnappings at the time in some areas around the interchange. So it means that things are getting better in terms of security. And one of the things that we all need to do is to hold government accountable. Now, the inclusion of fictitious project called capital is another thing we all need to look at. So media houses, you have a role to play. And I think the president they need to look at some of the spending so that we can put money in those areas that will bring real development, rail transportation. The guy at Nigerian Railway is our friend and is doing a lot. I have interacted with him, and I see that he has a lot of vision. In fact, one day he was telling me, can you imagine moving your goods from Lagos to Kano, by rail? And that's fantastic.
What used to happen before.
Yes. So they're trying to reconnect those rails. And I would say, like Mr. Kyari said, the government need to make the country so comfortable so that investors can trust the government and believe that if I enter into partnership with the Nigerian Railway Corporation, that I want to take care of a particular rail line. For example, in my town, Abeokuta, I wish that people who live in Abeokuta will be able to work in Lagos, without having to come and live inside the traffic of Lagos. So it means that we need more rail to move from Abeokuta every day. So private partnership is key, and you have to do it in a manner that if there is a change in government, somebody is not going to come tomorrow and say, well, you sign agreement with APC or you sign with PDP, and so we don't want to see your face. So this is a major problem.
Yeah, it's the reason we always ask for the sustainability plan beyond the current government, you know, about all these questions. The issue you raised, for instance, about living in one city and working in another, thankfully, which is a reality in the West or in some other parts of the world, is gradually coming into our station as well, because we understand that some people live in Ibadan and follow the same rail line to work in Lagos, and they return same day, you know, every day. But let me, there's an issue you raised, Dr. Adewi, that I'd like to take up with the Mr. Kyari in Maiduguri right now. And that's the issue of states. While Mr. Ade was talking, he raised the issue of the fact that governors themselves will catalyze their operational activity, infrastructural development activities this year, because it's an election year. It's a year in which they want to, as they say on the street, show doings. They want to show what they are doing, you know, in order to continue to have some credibility with their people. So how do we hold the states to account as a people? Not just as, you know, as a people, how do we hold the states, even the local government administrations, to account? Because they themselves now, if everything goes the way the president or the presidency is thinking about it, they will start collecting their monies directly, and the state governments may not have as much power over them in terms of their own contributions to the economy of their states. So how do we hold government to account at those lower levels? Because to a large extent, people are talking about the president, talking about the federal government, talking about the National Assembly, and pretty much forgetting that we have state assemblies who also collect money, their money, from the state coffers.
Thank you, J.I.O. I think it's a subject that is very dear to my heart, because when you look at the 36 states, plus the 772 or odd local government areas, the combined budget, and by the way, I think most of the state governors have already signed their 2026 budgets. Some have delivered, and when you look at it on average, they are very close to $1 trillion. Many have exceeded $1 trillion naira. So, you know, on the back of the envelope calculation, it means that 36 trillion or more is going to be spent in 2026 by the states. Have you heard of any local government that had also made a budget speech? You haven't. And the reason is that even though the Supreme Court had given autonomy, or rather reiterated and stressed that local governments are autonomous from states, they seem to be still an appendage of the states. Development at the grassroots level should have been coming from the local governments. And if all the local governments have both monetary and fiscal independence, rather not monetary, but fiscal independence, they would be the one to clean up and remove the waste or garbage in the neighborhoods, sweep the streets, clean the marketplaces, and make sure that the primary health centers are well equipped. Make sure that the few things that are needed by citizens, such as birth and death records, registry, et cetera, are all taken care of at the local government levels. Now that I haven't seen yet. I have not seen any local government give out the annual budget speech, or for that matter, the annual budget estimates. Now, so coming to the subnationals, the states, unfortunately, are not being held to account because the attention had always been to the center. And as a republic, we should be paying more attention to what our states are saying and whether they're implementing what they are saying. And if it is not, then we should be holding them to account rather. So the equation is that the onus is actually on the citizenry to make sure that what had been promised are delivered closer to you at your state and local governments. Unfortunately, it might take some time or maybe a better understanding and awareness of what democracy means.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me come to you, Dr. Adeye. And, he spoke about, people holding government to account to ensure that what has been promised has been delivered. Well, this year, the government is tasking Nigerians to do more. And this is in the payment of tax, with the new tax regime taking off this January. A lot of people are worried. I've seen a little people fret about it. Oh, I don't have enough yet. I've been asked to pay tax. I don't do this. I've seen a lot of people worry about this. Should Nigerians be worried about this new tax regime, or is it those people that are not doing things right that should be worried? I don't know.
I think, the fear is coming from people who should not be afraid. And that's the surprising thing I found in Nigeria. Now, you have a new tax law that says if you're earning 1.2 million a year, and then after taking your rent allowance, you have 800,000, 0%. Now, this is talking about the people at the lower level. And then the people at the lower level are the ones shouting and talking. Now, those that are earning, millions and billions, who will pay 25%, they are not even talking. And by the way, emphasis has been so much on the taxes that individuals will pay. This has nothing to do with the federal government revenue at all, except for military and police. So this has to do with subnationals. And that brings us back to what the state government is doing with the money they're getting and the one they are going to get in 2026. Now, let's ask all the state government. Recently, I was talking to a doctor in a particular hospital belonging to the government. No CT scan, MRI machine, they don't have. So you go to Duchess, you find something that many states combined together do not have. And this worries me a lot. And one of my brothers came from UK recently, and he was asking people in government, permanent secretaries, commissioners in the health sector, how many of you have your hospital card in the general hospital of the state? Now, how happy are you going to be if you see your governor goes for his checkup at the general hospital because of the standard? How happy will you be if you see your governor's children, commissioners, having the appointment in the state hospitals? But they abandon those hospitals because they are not using them. They abandon the schools because they don't have their children there. So the challenge is for us as citizens. The state assembly should not live as rubber stamp. They should do their work. And a situation where people come up with budget without clear line items, that's why you don't just come and say, capital project, on road, we're going to spend so much billions. You need to give details. And so we need to ask questions. Otherwise, you will see project hidden somewhere that does not exist. So media houses, you have a duty. Civil society have a duty. All of us as citizens, just ask simple question. You said you are going to do road project. Can you list to us the roads that are involved so that we know that from so point to so point you are going to do? And this is the amount that you put. I bet you go and check the budgets from all the states in the country. There are no too much clarity about specific projects. And as an accountant and an auditor, this is a problem for me.
Okay. Well, Mr. Carey, we're coasting home on this conversation now. There has been that statement made about micro, small, and medium enterprises, and a good number of people are pumped about the fact that, and you know, Dr. Adeoye has also highlighted it, that the micro, small, and medium enterprises should get ready, that there's going to be a lot of work for them being a penultimate year to the elections itself. In terms of positioning, in terms of readiness, in terms of preparation, even though the promise of the tax laws is that they will not be overtaxed, if anything, they're going to be excused quite a bit. What do the micro, small, and medium enterprises themselves need to do to position for those opportunities that are going to come to them?
Indeed, with the micro, small, and medium enterprises, I think a number of things, if anybody is in that category of businesses that they're running, which runs to the millions in Nigeria, is number one, make sure that you have your structure well of the company, because you cannot reach out to have some kind of funding, whether it is debt or equity, if you do not have the proper governance structure of your business. Doesn't necessarily mean you are going to have a 10 or a 7-member board. Even if it is 2, it's fine, but have a structure. 2, make sure you have the capacity to do the business, and also ensure that you keep good records of your income and expenses. Because with a business, it's very easy. It's the surplus that matters. So for certain volumes or certain revenue line amount, you do not, as a business, pay taxes. The other thing that most of the small and medium enterprises owners do is that they do not draw a salary. Please do put in your own salary. It's also an expense to the business. You are not the business, and the business is not you. Make sure that those are separated. Of course, the income, the salary you earn, there will be pay tax that go to the state that you operate out of. So all of those knowledge and capacity are absolutely necessary. And I tell people that there is huge sums of money in various segments of the MSME funding coming. Some are coming through the World Bank, some are done by the federal government, some even at the states. And I sit on the board of Development Bank of Nigeria. We see the numbers. There are even some that are structured towards keeping livestock or fattening or growing or farming livestock. So there are many aspects that people should look at, research, but make sure that you have the right capacity. If you don't, reach out to either the state agencies or some of the banks that offer what I call capacity building and trainings, some virtual, some physical. And those are basically going to put you in the right frame for you to then be able to take advantage of all the offers that's out there.
It's also necessary for these agencies of government to put the word out, because to a large extent, I can almost, be certain that a good number of people have no idea that these things exist. These opportunities exist out there for them. So is there a way that government, in your opinion, can communicate at various levels, federal, state, local, to everyone, to let them know that these opportunities exist, so that at least they can be able to exploit it for the benefit and economic growth of the nation?
Yes, indeed. SMEs, which is the agency of the federal government that is responsible for small, medium enterprise development, is one of those. It's what I would call the the town crier, if you will, of making sure that these programs exist, and these training programs are done in conjunction with some of the NGOs and some of the development finance institutions, whether it is Bank of Agri, Bank of Industry, Development Bank of Nigeria, et cetera, et cetera. They also have targets of making sure that capacity of X number of people per year are trained, because you have to train the person before you hand them money, whether it's debt or equity, probably debt in most instances, for them to make their businesses more resilient and grow the business or scale the business. So in a nutshell, I think the responsibility, both at the subnationals level and at the center, is to raise that awareness. I don't know what the budgetary allocations are, but it is critical that they go out there and ensure that out of the 20-odd million SMEs in the country, at least if 10 or so million are aware and are coming in to get those funding available for them, that they utilize those funding. The worst thing that could happen is that at the end of the year, a big chunk of their money is untouched because people are not aware of it.
Dr. Ade, your last word, we have to go.
Yes, so this year, like Mr. Kyari mentioned, a year to keep record, and more importantly, a year to do collaboration. Make sure that in your business area, you talk to people who are in that field. Where you have large supply to make, and it's beyond your capacity, you talk to other people. And this year, you file your tax returns appropriately so that you can enjoy the benefit. And people should not be afraid. There'll be noise all around that, oh, any credit into your account, you will be taxed. There's nothing like that. Tax authority have no power to impose tax on transfer to your account. You only pay tax on your income. And by the way, if you have a business and you make up to 100 million in a year, you are also exempted. There's a lot of exemptions available: agriculture, oil and gas, export, exemptions.
Thank you. We must thank you for your thoughts on this. Kyari Bukar, Chairman, Sunu Assurance Nigeria PLC. He was with us live from Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. And of course, in the studio with us, we have Dr. Olugbinga Adeoye to also speak to this important subject. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us today.
Thank you.
So, well, we hope that now you know that there is, if you're a small business, now you know that there is money, your money is sitting somewhere. Go and look for it. so that the prophecies can be fulfilled.
Yes.
We'll be right back for another conversation, this time on security.
Please stay with us.